Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the Big Mouth Daily. Remember, you can tag me, speak to me, follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Let's have a laugh, right? Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League may have been a hit with fans, but it did little to move the needle for HBO Max subscriptions. On Thursday, AT&T, which owns Warner Media, revealed that its streaming service, HBO Max, and its premium cable offering, HBO, added 2.7 million domestic subscribers during the first quarter. Now, this is from CNBC, but later that day, updated from CNBC, HBO Max continued on its growth curve in the first 3 months of 2021, powered in part by big budget films like Godzilla vs. Kong and Zack Snyder's Justice League that streamed onto the service during the quarter. HBO Max gained about 3 million total subscribers. Sequentially, AT&T said a number the company should be pleased with after concerns HBO Max might have trouble retaining subs after a big lift from Wonder Woman 84 in December. How did we go from... Look, we've got to look into this because this is nuts. This is how corrupt and toxic these journalists are. Let's go through this again. It's hilarious. HBO Max continued on its growth curve. Let's go back to the other one. Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League may have been a hit with the fans, but it did little to move the needle for HBO Max subscriptions. On Thursday, AT&T, which owns Warner Media, revealed that its streaming service, HBO Max, and its premium cable offering, HBO, added 2.7 million to domestic subscribers during its first quarter. So, in the first version of the article, they say 2.7 million domestic subscribers isn't very good. That's very good, by the way. But what's even funnier with the update, HBO Max continued on its growth, right? So we go from HBO Max continued on its growth to may have been a hit with the fans, but it did little to move the needle for HBO Max subscriptions. Listen, it's so funny. So how do we go from the original article to the updated version? Because there's agendas everywhere. Now, for all we know, Warner Brothers Pictures, someone there could have got them to do this. CNBC is a very, very highly respected publication. We know that. We must say that. We must be fair and transparent here. But at the end of the day, this is a mess for the publication. How embarrassing. So either a journalist who hates us, hates Zack, decided to go all negative and toxic. That's probably a more realistic scenario. So let's discuss this whole situation. HBO Max launched a year too soon. They had nothing to offer the public, nothing. And then their Friends reunion had to be postponed because of COVID. They had nothing. But it goes beyond COVID. They knew when they decided to greenlight Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, they had nothing. And this is before the pandemic, right? Let's go back to Disney Plus. Now, Disney Plus didn't have many originals to offer the public, but they did have a few things in animation and all their IPs that they were going to have there already. And yes, to be fair, HBO Max have got a big catalogue of existing IPs that people could watch that you can't watch on the other streaming services. So that's a good selling point, right? But they had nothing to offer. When Disney Plus launched, and I don't like bigging up Disney Plus or Disney, but we've got to be honest here. So they had The Mandalorian. Where was HBO Max's original DC to counter this, DC project to counter this? They should have had a Green Lantern Corps series ready to go, just like Disney had a Star Wars Mandalorian series ready to go. At least they had one project ready for their first quarter, for their first year. It held them in good stead. People loved The Mandalorian, and it worked, and it's great. So what did they do? Out of desperation, they greenlit the Snyder Cut because they saw the trends for it. They knew what it would do for them. Out of desperation, these people had no plan. They should have waited 12 months later to launch the platform, and they at least should have had Green Lantern Corps ready. These people are bums, but they didn't do that. So out of desperation, they rung up Zack Snyder. Zack, please, we're in a bit of trouble here. Can we have the Snyder Cut, please? Can we have the crappy black and white version that's not ready yet? I'm sure it's great, by the way, Zack, but we, you know, you and I and the fans would like the finished one, right? Anyway, so out of desperation, they green-light it. Let's be absolutely clear here. Every publication, apart from that original article, said that HBO Max's and AT&T's numbers are great. But some people are going, even fans of Snyder, my fellow Snyder fans, my fellow DC Snyderverse fans going, I know people are disappointed because things didn't go well. What are you talking about? Over 3 million subs in the first quarter. That's sensational. Do you think Netflix had the empire it did in its first year, in its first quarter? Of course not. What are you people talking about? These streaming numbers are amazing. And 3/4 of them have to be because of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. And we know breaking the release window helped them, right? Because without the Snyder Cut and without the movies from the cinema, they're sharing with movie theatres, they would be nowhere. They would be down there right now because they had no plan. Because it's all very well having existing IPs from old stuff like Looney Tunes and all the different stuff. They've got, of course, they've got that one with that woman who does the voice for Harley Quinn in the animated series on the plane, the hostess or whatever it is, right? That's been really big for them. So they do have a few original things that are working out for them, don't get me wrong. They've got the HBO stuff, but DC is your top IP, and you had nothing for it. So out of desperation, you needed the Snyder Cut. And that's the truth of the matter. What a lack of organisation, because, again, they were greedy. This is the reason they drove Zack off Justice League, right? And then they wanted Whedon's version to be released at the same time. It's the same old greedy people with the same greedy capitalist mentality, and greed will get you nowhere. It's like what I used to say to my landlady when I used to rent a room. I said, you get things bodged up cheaply, they leak, they break, and then you have to spend the same amount of money. These people don't think logically in this. How these people ever become business people and successful, I don't know. So from the moment Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut was launched, it was boosting HBO Max's subscribers. Jesus Christ. As soon as I heard they were green-lighting Snyder's movie, I subscribed to all their platforms in terms of social media. I was following them, right? I was sharing every Jason Kilar post. I was sharing every HBO Max post. We were plugging their content out of gratitude, for Christ's sake. And most of the subscribers who came in when the announcement of Zack's Justice League movie was being greenlit, from the moment that movie was greenlit, the moment Zack announced it on the Man of Steel watch party, we all were interested. Now, I couldn't subscribe to HBO Max because I'm not in America, but thousands of people did. Hundreds of thousands of people did. And it went into the millions. And it made it successful. Most of the people who have subscribed to HBO Max, who are plugging HBO Max, are Snyder fans. And shit, like the first version of that article really don't help HBO Max. And I'm sure Warner Media went straight to CNBC, the big bods at CNBC, and said, listen, you're going to cause us fucking trouble here. What the fuck are you doing? We've just said we're really happy with the first quarter. What are you talking about? And how did we get, this is the funny one, right? How did we get from 2.7 to, where are we? 3 million. So how did we go from 2.7 to 3 million? It doesn't make sense. It's like you got the numbers wrong as well. Is that the reason you've changed your mind? How do we go from Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut didn't boost HBO subscribers, and how did we go from that to saying HBO Max continued on its growth curve in the first 3 months of 2021, powered in part by the big budget films like Godzilla vs. Kong and Zack Snyder's Justice League? But they're only talking about 2021. What they're not talking about is what I'm talking about. From the moment in May 2020, when Zack announced that Warner Media had greenlit his Justice League movie to stream on HBO Max. That's what I'm talking about. These are the numbers they're not talking about. We boosted their numbers. This film boosted their numbers from May 2020. And it's a fact. This is not wishful thinking, you trolls that are saying, oh, yeah, we're just living in a dream. Well, no, we're not. No one's going to say something if it's not true. Right? Well, they do. But we're honest people here. We boosted HBO Max's platform from the very beginning. Without Zack's Justice League movie, without his fans, us boosting them, sharing all their stuff on social media, they would be nowhere now. Nowhere. And luckily for them, there was a pandemic and they had to co-release the movies and break the release window. I still agree with that decision, but it helped them. It helped their platform by no ends. These quarterly numbers wouldn't be as positive without that as well. But let's be absolutely clear here. The Snyder Cut boosted HBO Max from May of 2020. We all know that. That's a fact. It's been successful. It also garnered big multi-channel deals from Sky, however you say the company, Sky B. They did a big deal which went all around Europe. All the multi-channel companies they own had exclusive rights to stream it. They had a very, very lucrative deal with them. And now they're making hundreds and thousands of dollars across the world because everyone can buy it digitally. And very soon we'll all be able to buy it and pre-order it on Amazon and other platforms, hard copy, physical copy as well. For me now it's all about physical copy. I'm actually moving away from streaming services now. I'm looking at my physical copies, buying physical copies, and I'm actually trying to support American broadcast channels. Is it NBC Universal who do Law and Order? The new Law and Order show, I think I discussed this yesterday, is awesome with Chris Maloney. I'm supporting that. More shows like that, please. And obviously Special Victims Unit. That's been led with a female for what, 20 years or so now? Where's the big hoo-ha about Olivia Benson and that successful female character? But anyway, going back to this, how very dare you? How very dare you? How did it work out for you? Oh, and Popcorn Planet got really excited and you did a little video, mate, did you? Based on a fake article that was updated afterwards. So, to close this off, to clarify, Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut boosted HBO Max subscribers from the moment the Snyder Cut was announced to be streaming on HBO Max. Now, sticking to the Snyder Cut and the Snyderverse, what went wrong? And I'm not talking about the film and HBO Max because the film is successful. Most people who watched it loved it. It has done very well for HBO Max. In fact, it's propped HBO Max up on its first quarter. And as I've just said, right, it boosted the subscribers from the moment the movie was greenlit. Why did we go from an episodic format to a movie format? Now, I was quite triggered when I heard it was going to be episodic, but I understood. It's a business. It meant it was actually good news as this was happening. I would have rather seen it as a movie, and I did, and I'm happy about that. But the truth is, I watched it episodically anyway in the end. I put one chapter on, had a cigarette, had something to eat, shagged someone, whatever I was doing, right? Then went back to the next chapter. So in fact, basically, this is why the film was in chapters, not to help you understand and keep up with it, because Zack had separated it into chapters already because it was going to be a TV show. Because their original plan with Zack and Warner Media, HBO Max and stanky AT&T decided that they wanted it to start off as a TV series, as a chapterized thing, because they were going to green light the Snyderverse. That was the plan. They wanted to do it. This is why they kept on replying to the fans, HBO Max and AT&T, and being positive. That's kind of stopped now. Why? What went wrong? Because from the moment they changed their mind and didn't want it in chapters and wanted it to be released as a movie, that's the moment they changed their minds about restoring the Snyderverse. Yes, here are the facts. From that moment where it wasn't going to be a chapterized weekly episode format, they changed their minds about restoring the Snyderverse. Why? Because once you slap Once you slap the hand that feeds you, everyone, you're in trouble. Ray Fisher has caused a lot of trouble here. This is not how business is done, everyone. Ray, Zach, Terrio, everyone exposing the fucking studio. What did you think was going to happen? Every week, Ray Fisher would come out with some other secret information. But I think the rod that broke the camel's back was Ray Fisher exposing Walter Hamada when there was no need to. There was no need to. Ray took things on another level. When he first came out and said that he lied when he was being nice and saying that Joss was a great guy, I accept that. That's great. You made your point. You said the guy was a toxic director. He was abusive to you all. And, you know, John Berg and Jeff Johns kind of allowed it to happen because they needed him to finish the damn movie. And I understand both sides there, by the way. I even understand his insistence of demanding an investigation. Damn it, Warner Media should have asserted that themselves. And, you know, we thought AT&T were coming in to be better. In a lot of ways, they have made Warner Media better, but there's still a long way to go. It's a big company and it's difficult. And I understand that. But when he exposed his conversation with Walter Hamada, you can remember when I first heard about it and I responded to it here and read out the article, you could tell how triggered I was because I like Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada is a good guy. Nobody's perfect, but Walter Hamada is an intelligent guy. He's doing a good job and trying his best. He's made mistakes, I think. I think the Birds of Prey movie, allowing Margot Robbie to have total creative control on that film was a mistake. That film was not on his fault, and he fixed the shit show she turned it into. Basically, the director she brought on couldn't even do action, and they had to bring Chad from John Wick to fix it, right? But Chad had no time to sort it out, and the action still looked a bit, but it looked better than it did because I saw the test screenings. You don't want to see the test screenings. You don't want to see what they actually had in there. We won't talk about the diamond and what was in it. Anyway, keeping to the subject that we're talking about, apart from Birds of Prey, I think Walter's done a solid job of running this franchise, and it's been difficult. He came at a very, very difficult time. So imagine being Warner Media, but imagine being staying at AT&T, seeing this guy, Fisher, constantly exposing, going on, and then you get Zack Snyder coming out, talking about this Wayne T. Carr guy who was cut, and basically alleging that the company is racist for cutting all these POCs. It doesn't look good, does it? It's not something I would have done if I was the head of the company. But again, it's very confusing when these POCs were cut. Some of them were cut during, Sujihara's reign. And I still don't understand. Was Jon Stewart cut when they were, when Zack was getting ready to put the film together for it to be streamed on HBO Max? Or was this beforehand? I don't understand, because he was talking about quitting, but he didn't want to quit because he wanted fans to see the movie. I'm not quite sure when and where all this took place. But when you keep on exposing, biting off the hand that feeds you, and this is where it's all gone wrong, everyone. So basically, I would say it's more Ray Fisher's constant outbursts and war of words with Hamada and Warner Brothers Pictures and now Warner Media. When you start doing that, a company thinks, do you know what? There's a lot of financial potential here, but these people are fucking loose cannons. And as you know, I love Zack. I love his DC movies. But at the end of the day, these people keep on exposing stuff about an elite company, elite people working within the company. And, Fisher keeps on coming back with more and more and more. So in the end, it's looking like AT&T said, you know what? There is so much capacity financially and commercially to do well with this and have it in a corner on HBO Max. But you know what? These people are just too much like hard work. And I mean, if we let them stay, are they going to keep on exposing stuff about the past? If I have a private conversation with Zack or Ray, are they going to keep on going to the press and going to their people and leaking it to the internet? You can't have that. I imagine that they wouldn't have done that once they got their own way. But then you wonder, is the stuff being leaked or people being exposed just to get a little corner on HBO Max? Or did Zack and Ray, as Warner Brothers alleged, that basically Ray Fisher was just trying to help Zack get the keys back to the whole DC kingdom? There is that as well. So basically, the tactics that were being used, whether it's from Zack or Ray or if they're in it together, I don't know. You know, I'm not a telepath. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what people's intentions are. But from the outside looking in, I think Warner Brothers were right about that. And you can kill me for that if you want. So this tactic of exposing the company and trying to put pressure on the company backfired, because the company was always going in a new direction and Zack was never going to get the keys to the kingdom. Although I did get a bit excited after I saw Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut and started going around saying there's a big chance now because of my excitement level. And I apologise getting people's hopes up, because that would have been interesting as well. But it's pretty clear, I think, that things are the way they should be, but I would love to restore the Snyderverse. There's no question about that, everyone. And you don't misunderstand me. And I still love Zack Snyder and I love his DC movies. But at the end of the day, although he's a tactical genius with a lot of things that he did, especially to, you know, getting people to hashtag release the Snyder Cut and the things he was doing behind the scenes with Subway and things like that, very, very intelligent. He just, unfortunately, the Ray Fisher stuff crossed the line. And Zack exposed a few things that the company didn't want exposed. And I think from the moment Ann Sarnoff did that Variety hit piece, it was obvious. It wasn't just Sarnoff. It wasn't Warner Brothers Pictures. AT&T, Warner Media as a whole, wanted the fans and the whole community to understand that Zack Snyder's movies will never be greenlit. He will never have the keys to the kingdom, and he will never have a corner on HBO Max anymore. And I have to be honest here. I believe originally when they greenlit this project to be chapters, I think they had every intention of doing so, because they did the maths and they saw commercially and financially this was a really good business move. But once they saw them exposing them in public, and there was no need to. There was no need to keep on doing this and keep on talking. They were hyping the film up, but there were other ways to do it. So, unfortunately, if you want to blame anyone for the Snyderverse not being restored at this moment in time, who knows what the future holds? Basically, blame Ray Fisher. And you know what? Look at Zack a little bit and say, do you know what, Zack? Maybe you should have kept your mouth shut at times. Because what company, what powerful entity wants to be exposed, wants to be worried about a director and an actor coming out saying more and more negative things? And this affects share prices. So at the end of the day, they were more trouble than they were worth. You know, the only way this will ever happen now, and it's going to be difficult, we can keep on hashtagging. I'm going to keep on fighting, and I expect you to keep on fighting. Don't lose hope. I'm not telling you to lose hope. What I'm telling you from the people I'm speaking to and things that I've surmised from this situation is that Warner Media and Warner Brothers Pictures, the whole company, were very happy for Zack Snyder to restore the Snyderverse in a little corner on HBO Max, and the toxicity and the constant articles with Zack, Terrio and Fisher constantly being aggressive towards the company, that's what ruined everything. Now, can these situations be fixed? Can they be persuaded again? They don't have... By the way, let me be clear here. They don't have... I've got a lot of insider knowledge. They don't hate the fandom. In fact, they admire us. They admire our intelligence and passion. And they would love to utilize us. And they wish they had that kind of fandom for the Central Universe as well. But what they don't like is how we are used for certain agendas, like what happened with Ray Fisher and things that are leaked all the time. That's what they don't like. They don't like the fact that we're kind of manipulated into, like, you know, Ray Fisher has got his own disciples now. You know, Ray supporters are Zack supporters, and they don't see through, you know, his agenda. And it's not about movies. It's not about anything. It's about his own political agenda. And this is why I've unfollowed him. He's still on my timeline, by the way, but I can't do nothing about that. People who follow me, people who I follow, you know, retweet him and support him, and that's up to you. And this is why. So I do blame Ray Fisher mostly for this, but I think, you know, the tactics to put pressure on Warner Media did put pressure on them, but they decided and they said, you know what, this is too much hassle. And I think we had it in the palm of our hands. I think they were going to restore the Snyderverse. I think Justice League 2, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, it would have been Justice League Series 2. And Justice League 3 would have been Justice League Series 3. And we could have had Ben Affleck's The Batman and so many different things. But don't be surprised if Zack does get a DC movie. I think the what is it, the Atom one. I think that one that he wants to shoot in China, that's a possibility. And I still believe that Wonder Woman 3 is on the table as well. But restoring the Snyderverse now is an uphill struggle. And unfortunately, Zack and Ray have only got themselves to blame. Now, I'm telling you the way it is. I'm not happy about this situation. Telling you this gives me no pleasure. But, you know, you don't shoot the messenger. You want to shoot the messenger? You can. But these are the facts. Imagine it. Every day there's an article. You've got these people coming up being negative about your executives and your company. Then you've got thousands of fans abusing a studio. WB, WB, WB. It's not right. It's not fair. And it's very toxic. So unfortunately, the tactics didn't work. They did initially with release the Snyder Cut. But during the build-up to Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, it went too far. You may not want to admit that yourselves, but I do. So basically, that, you know, Zack and Ray shot themselves in the foot. And it's very sad. And if, you know, if Zack wants to continue this journey, he's going to have to talk to Warner Media and maybe grovel and apologise a little bit and actually compromise a little bit. Now, to a lot of people in this fandom, the word compromise is a bad thing. But to me, it is not. Compromise isn't about giving up. Compromise isn't about bending the knee. When you're working on IPs that other people own, there must be a team effort. There must be a coming together. This is something that Zack's never been willing to do. And this is what got him driven off the project in the first place. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Someone posted this on Twitter the other day. I'm not sure if I've showed it to you already. Instead of the Flash, it says trash. This is the kind of thing that, how do you think you're going to get what you want? You want to restore the Snyderverse? You want the restoration of the Snyderverse, right? So do I. Do you think calling the project that's in development now, one of the most exciting projects ever, calling it trash, what do you think this is going to do? It just shows toxicity, doesn't it? It just shows it. It's not good. This is not from intelligent people. This is from people with a low IQ that simply don't understand how things are done in the business. We did an amazing thing. We showed them that there was a hunger to watch Snyder's DC projects and future projects. We did that, and it almost restored the Snyderverse. And now it's ruined. Ruined by people who just don't get it. We could have had a positive relationship with the studio. Zack could have had a positive relationship with the studio, and so could have Ray. But oh no, we had to keep on pushing and pushing. And now, my friends, we have nothing. So keep on fighting. I'm not giving up. We can fix this situation. But behaviour like that, I'm sorry, I just won't tolerate. And neither will the studio. And after all, it's their IP. They're the ones who make the decisions. So maybe we should go back and think again. Fellow super nerds, Scott Edwards, and very loyal viewer of Big Mouth, has about 3 articles for me to read. Sorry, Scott, I was supposed to read a couple of them yesterday, but I got carried away and I forgot. Please don't think I'm ignoring you on purpose. But unfortunately, sometimes it's going to happen when I'm not able to do it because I'm talking about something that's very important to me and the time drags over. It's never disrespect, so keep on trying. And now and again, you will get your suggestions and your articles read out. So let's go. Stargirl needs to set up a Crisis on Earth Prime Arrowverse crossover. Stargirl's set on Earth 2 has the perfect crossover story the Arrowverse should use in the future by adapting a different DC Comics Crisis story by Andy, whose surname I can never read. Should we try and read it? It's Bear... No, I can't, sorry. Anyway, as Stargirl becomes more part of the Arrowverse, there is a perfect and different Crisis storyline from DC Comics that the CW should adapt to screen. Last year, Courtney Whitmore became the latest member of the ever-growing DC TV universe, played by Brett Basinger. Is Brett Basinger related to Kim Basinger, I wonder? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me with this industry, right? Anyway, she's great. Stargirl follows the story of the teenage heroine discovering the legacy of the Justice Society of America, one of DC Comics' most iconic superhero teams of all time. As Courtney found her inner hero, Stargirl also focused on the next version of the JSA, with a new generation of superheroes taking up the mantles of the mantle of the icons. So a pretty good concept, isn't it? Initially, upon its creation, Stargirl was eyed to be another DC Universe original, joining shows like Titans and Doom Patrol on the streaming platform. However, before its premiere, DC Universe and the CW struck a deal where it would air on both platforms for its upcoming second season. Stargirl will now be a CW exclusive, as the DC branded digital streamer has transitioned into a full-time comic service. Despite not being set on the same Earth as the main Arrowverse heroes, Stargirl is still part of Greg Berlanti's shared universe. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Arrowverse multiverse got rebooted by Oliver Queen as the Spectre, thanks to Oliver's final act in life. Stargirl was established to be set on a now reimagined Earth 2 that operates as the home of the JSA. During the 5-part crossover, Courtney and the next generation of JSA briefly show up in a montage to establish their new Earth designation, while it had previously been the home of characters like Jesse Quick, Black Siren, now Black Canary, and Harry Wells. That is no longer the case post-Crisis. Despite being set on a separate Earth, that doesn't stop Stargirl from having a crossover with the heroes of Earth Prime. While Crisis on Infinite Earths has now been adapted, there is another iconic Crisis storyline that the creators of Stargirl and the other Arrowverse shows could adapt as a future crossover. Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2. I've never read this. Let's have a look. What is Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2, and how Stargirl could play into it? Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2 is a 2-issue story arc that was released in the 1960s. Justice League of America run the feature that features them teaming up with the Justice Society of America. This marked the first time that the two teams joined forces against their enemies of the respective Earths. The concept of travelling between Earths had been established in DC through the famous meeting between Barry Allen and Jay Garrick in the Flash 123, Flash of Two Worlds. In the Crisis crossover, it's revealed that villains of Earth 1 and Earth 2 had discovered each other's existence and therefore chose to work together to get away with their crimes from Earth 1. Was Dr. Alchemy, Kronos and Felix Faust, while Icicle, the Wizard and the Fiddler represented Earth 2. The 2-part crossover reveals that the JSA has come out of retirement after 12 years to take on their Golden Age foes, but it's after both Flashes have been captured by the crime champions that the crossover kicks into overdrive. After being temporarily trapped themselves, the JLA manages to reach out to Barry through a crystal ball to find out where he's being held captive. It's at that point when Barry reveals the concept of the two Earths and that they should reach out to the JSA, which they do. After a heartfelt first meeting, the JLA are sent to Earth 2 to take on their respective foes, while the JSA stays on Earth 1 to go after their Golden Age enemies. As two Green Lanterns work together to save the Flashes, they end up using their powers to destroy the vibration bubbles the speedsters were trapped in, but this causes the JLA and the JSA to all get trapped in cages in outer space, from which they eventually escape. As the crime champions of Two Worlds realise that the two teams are approaching, they realise that if there is an Earth 1 and an Earth 2, there must also be an Earth 3, which they get ready to escape to. But the JLA and JSA show up in time for an epic showdown as the crossover ends with two super teams victorious. The two teams also establish that they'll keep in touch in case they ever need each other's assistance. The way Stargirl would be utilised is to establish that on their Earth there is no Justice League, as well as none of their villains. So far, the super teen drama has mostly been using Injustice Society villains, including Fiddler and the Wizard. That has been a helpful distinction between Earth Prime and Earth 2. Initially, Stargirl was planning on having a crossover with The Flash, according to Basinger in 2020 interview. But despite a planned storyline, the crossover didn't happen due to production schedules not meshing at the time, while the global pandemic ended up making the CW have to cancel their Superman and Lois and Batwoman event. Thank God for that. I can't believe they even thought about that. I don't think that's got anything to do with COVID. I think they cancelled that a while back because they realised they wanted Superman and Lois to be self-contained and not involved with the outer universe of the Arrowverse. Stargirl is getting into the crossover business. John Wesley Shipp, who is best known for starring in the Flash TV series as the Scarlet Speedster in the 1990s, has been a long-time member of the Arrowverse through the CW version. Not only did he get to reprise his Barry Allen alongside Grant Gustin's version, but Shipp has also been playing Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, for a couple of seasons. Originally, Jay was established to be a citizen of Earth-3 in the pre-Crisis era. However, with the multiverse now rebooted, it has set the stage for the upcoming Stargirl of the Flash crossover that Shipp will be involved in. By the way, John Wesley Shipp originally started his Arrowverse Flash role as playing Henry Allen, Barry Allen's dad, in Stargirl Season 2, which is currently, that Shipp will be involved in Stargirl Season 2, which is currently shooting. We'll see Shipp's Golden Age Flash appear in the 9th episode. Thanks to Crisis, the episode will now establish that his version of Jay was always from Earth 2, and that part of that version of the JSA, while details are limited, it's been confirmed that he'll be part of a pivotal flashback episode that focuses on the original JSA, which is going to be awesome. So thank you, Jeff Johns, for that. And this is the kind of stuff that matters to Jeff Johns. So despite all his other sins and stuff, it's kind of good to still have him around. That will be Shipp's first time playing Jay again after he appeared in episode 2 of The Flash Season 6 before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Given that Jay's so far officially only appearing in flashbacks, it's unclear if he's still alive in the present time. I don't think he is. I think we're only going to see him in the flashbacks. Stargirl Season 1 explained that most of the original JSA died in their final battle against the JSA, but through the nature of superhero storytelling, it's easy to find creative ways to reveal that Jay maybe didn't die, as well as other JSA members who haven't yet appeared on the show. Through Shipp's Jay Garrick, it gives Stargirl the first crossover with the Arrowverse that can lead to even bigger storylines and events. While the exact way Crisis on Earth 1 and Crisis on Earth 2 was written is maybe a little outdated for today, the overall, you mean it's good, awesome and great character development, that's probably what you mean, right? Overall concept is perfect for the current Arrowverse. As of right now, the heroes Earth Prime have no idea that... So let's say that again. As of right now, the heroes Earth Prime have no idea that Oliver actually recreated the multiverse, believing their Earth is the only one now. Yeah, it's not the only one. The multiverse idea has so far not been explored on Stargirl. But it's only a matter of time before one of those universes discovers that there are multiple Earths out there for Earth Prime. It's even more important that they find out at some point, even if it wouldn't be the exact same lineup. It'd still be doable for villains of Earth Prime and Earth 2 to discover each other and form an alliance. Not only would this be the perfect opportunity for Earth Prime to learn about the new multiverse, but it'd be a new way to do a team-up for Arrowverse. Despite not being exactly called the Justice League, that is essentially what Earth Prime heroes are. What a JLA-JSA team-up would also give is a refreshing crossover concept, since the new JSA mostly consists of teenage heroes right now. It adds something new to the overall Arrowverse on Earth Prime. There isn't a young team of heroes running around like there is on Earth 2. Having an Arrowverse Stargirl crossover would bring new dynamics to life that haven't been seen before on the CW. How would the adult heroes tackle working with teenagers now, following similar footsteps? What would it be like for the new JSA to meet another legacy of superheroes that don't even exist on that Earth? Even though Crisis on Infinite Earths has already happened, that hasn't stopped the CW from doing other Crisis events before. Prior to the 2019 story, the Arrowverse had done Crisis on Earth X a few years before. That's why Crisis on Earth Prime, Crisis on Earth 2 crossover could happen, while also bringing a new tone for the Arrowverse. Seeing the adult and teenage heroes for two worlds coming together would be refreshing, while also reintroducing the multiverse idea again for the CW universe. As the heroes of Earth Prime learn about Earth 2 now existing again, it can lead to them going and exploring other new Earths that the Spectre created. Hopefully Stargirl Season 2 can see the concept, like for a future Arrowverse crossover that when it premieres on the CW this summer. Well, that's very, very interesting, Andy. A great article. Thanks for that, Scott. Now, it's very, very interesting, actually. I think what Andy's suggesting here is beyond Arrowverse. I think this is something that may be explored in the Flash movie and beyond. They are kind of going down the multiverse strategy. They are rebooting the DCEU, should I say. And so I think what Arrow or Green Arrow Oliver Queen did by rebooting the multiverse will have an effect on what's going on in the DC movies, because they're bringing all these universes together, all these characters together. Anyone can cross over on the main DCEU Earth from Flashpoint and beyond Flashpoint. So this is very ambitious and exciting. And I think from the moment we saw Miller's Flash with Gusting's Flash, this is what they're going to do. So what Andy has suggested here, I think will play out in a big way, but in the whole DC live-action universe. And for me, that's awesome. Now over to the MCU, and this is another article considered, or shall I say suggested, by Scott Edwards. And this is what it's all about. Doctor Strange 2, Elizabeth Olsen teases horror vibe of Benedict Cumberbatch sequel by Aaron Mayer. Right, I can't see it. Again, I can't say the surname. I don't know how it works out that everyone writing articles these days has surnames I can't pronounce. Sorry, I'm not trying to be offensive, but I just can't. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's no secret that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is set to open the multiverse in a big way. This is exactly what the Flashpoint movie is going to do, and this is what they're going to do with this film. Directed by Sam Raimi, the film will showcase the first MCU team-up of Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange and Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, and it is expected that it will change the landscape of the franchise in many ways. The details behind the madness within the multiverse are still being kept under wraps, but plot elements such as the time travel during Avengers Endgame and Wanda's transformation into the Scarlet Witch during WandaVision are all expected to play a heavy role in the narrative. The cast of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will feature new and returning characters such as Chitwell's Ojufias, I can't read that surname either, Baron Mordo, and newcomer Shuliti Gomez. Does anyone have a bloody pronounceable name anymore? As the reality hopping America Chavez, with production coming to an end sooner rather than later, one of the lead stars has opened up about the different vibe of the MCU sequel. Elizabeth Olsen sat down with Glamour for a candid chat, and one of the topics that were discussed is the actress's next MCU outing, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Olsen described the MCU sequel as bonkers movie, while also pointing out that the crew is going for that horror show vibe. Wow. It's a bonkers movie. They're definitely going for that horror show vibe. In the same report, Glamour also revealed that Olsen has been living in Richmond, London with her musician fiancé Robbie Arnett since October. This is possible indication that the actress began work on the sequel at that time. Yes, that's why she's in London. Yes, unfortunately, heartbreaking. Elizabeth has a superstar celebrity partner. So that's heartbreaking to me and heartbreaking to you. Maybe we can have a secret affair. Who knows? Anyway, no, we go on. I thought that was it, but we go on. Doctor Strange 2 embraces horror. Olsen's horror show vibe comment should give fans a general preview of what's in store for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Embracing this concept essentially creates a unique storytelling opportunity for the sequel, thus marking the first time that the MCU will do a deep dive into this theme. By the way, Shazam did go down the horror theme a little bit. Not that much, but just a little bit. In a previous interview, 2019, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige said that the Benedict Cumberbatch-led sequel will be a big MCU film with scary sequences in it. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a horror film, but it'll be a big MCU film with scary sequences in it. It was at the time when he stopped the former director of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness when he said it is kind of a horror film. Kevin got a bit scared, so did Disney, obviously, because they don't want to put kids and adults off of it, or parents and kids off of it. This implies that Multiverse of Madness will explore the aforementioned horror vibe by exploring scary sequences combined with the usual superhero spectacle that the MCU is known for. Not much is known if the specifics about the film horror led to the departure of Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson. It did, especially considering the fact that he is an accomplished filmmaker under this genre. Still, Sam Raimi's experience in handling scary films such as the cult classic Evil Dead should benefit Multiverse of Madness if Marvel really wants to aim for that horror vibe. WandaVision already included several scary elements such as Agatha Harkness' underground lair. That was so scary. What? And this should bode well for Olsen's seamless transition into the sequel. The Benedict Cumberbatch-led sequel is shaping up to be an interesting film. The inclusion of horror elements should propel the sequel even more. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is set to premiere in theatres on March the 25th. This is interesting. Around the same day Matt Reeves' The Batman is released. So that whole DCEU versus the MCU thing is big. Now the MCU multiverse will open up next March. The DCEU multiverse, the walls of that multiverse will come crashing down in November later that year. As I've said before, it's going to be very interesting to see who does it better. Who does the multiverse better? The MCU or the DCEU? Now, again, it's interesting. Normally, when we've seen things being handled, the public conception is that the MCU do it best. Could this time be different? As a DC fan, I just want both of these franchises to do it well. But if one has to do it badly, please make it be the MCU and not the DCEU. And our final article today, and also of the final part of our show today, and this is another article suggested by Scott Edwards, DCEU, 10 possible villains for the Black Adam movie. With the Black Adam movie set to be released within a year, fans have been wondering whether Granny Goodness or Vandal Savage might make an appearance. That would be awesome, if either or both get involved. Vandal Savage is a great villain in the comics. Forget the one in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Wasn't well handled. Not the actor's fault, by the way. This is an article from Screen Rant by Christopher Capel. After being announced before the Shazam movie was even out, despite being about the former Captain Marvel's most powerful adversary, the Black Adam movie starring Dwayne Johnson now has a release date of July 29, 2022. Shazam didn't give fans much to go on with Black Adam's backstory, so there is a lot of room to fill in the gaps, which is probably best because then that creative team on Black Adam can have the freedom of creativity, which is what we've all been fighting for about, since 2017, really. So it's a good thing. We can't be just fighting for freedom for Zack and then saying, why did Matt Reeves not want Ben Affleck? You're contradicting yourself. Warner Brothers has released a full cast list and has confirmed that the movie will see Black Adam join the Justice Society of America, the DC Universe's precursor to the Justice League. If Black Adam himself isn't the bad guy, this opens up the doors to speculation as to who the villain in the movie will be. With decades of Black Adam, Shazam and JSA comics to go off of, there's certainly no shortage of evildoers powerful enough to oppose these heroes. 10. Mr. Mind. Now, Mr. Mind was teased at the end of the first Shazam, so I'm assuming Mr. Mind will play maybe a small or even a large role in Shazam Fury of the Gods. Basically, we saw him, didn't we, in the end there. Now, I've forgotten the villain's name who was in the first Shazam. Damn it! Someone in the comments down below, please. But, yeah, so he was in prison, the villain from the first Shazam. Then Mr. Mind turns up, who basically looks like a worm and had a few words in his shell life. So I'm very sure that will have some factoring into Fury of the Gods. While the Shazam movie had held many fans pleasing twists, the biggest shock arrived during the end credits when one of Shazam's most famous villains made a proper introduction. Many fans expected Black Adam himself to make an appearance, but instead they were treated to the synthesized voice of Mr. Mind. Mr. Mind may only appear to be a caterpillar, okay, a caterpillar, not a worm, but he's a super intelligent creature with psychic powers who regularly runs his own supervillain group, the Monster Society of Evil. Given the Shazam Fury of the Gods doesn't appear to feature him It will feature him at some point, even if it's not that big. He hasn't been announced, but they teased it. Or they could have been teasing it for a future movie or a crossover or something. It will factor in eventually. Mr. Mind could make an interesting impact on Black Adam instead. 9. The Frost King. An incredibly recent threat to the Justice League in the comics is being called the Frost King, who played DC's Prime Earth with an eternal snowstorm in this year's Justice League Endless Winter event. The Frost King has near godlike ice powers and ability to create ice monsters, like an evil version of Frozen's Elsa, I was thinking that myself, or a male version of the Snow Queen. Most importantly, Black Adam was directly connected to the Frost King, as he originally helped seal the king away centuries ago, along with Wonder Woman's mother Hippolyta. In fact, it was only thanks to the Frost King's threat that Adam was revived by the wizard Shazam in the first place. 8. The Injustice Society. If the Justice Society of America is as deeply involved in Black Adam as they are reported to be, then it's entirely possible that their direct villainous counterparts, the Injustice Society, may be involved. And wouldn't that be awesome? The Injustice Society has had many members over the years, including the ice-powered Icicle, the psychic Brainwave, the Nazi scientist Per Degaton, and super genius the Thinker, who's actually going to be it is the Thinker in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, if I remember rightly. Of course it is. Who will soon be appearing in this year's The Suicide Squad. There you go. In the ongoing Stargirl TV series, the original JSA were actually killed by the Injustice Society, so they're a force to be reckoned with. 7. 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. DC's 4 Horsemen were some of the most powerful and terrifying adversaries that Black Adam ever fought, who he only beat at great personal cost. The Horsemen were bioengineered enemies designed to take out superheroes and bring forth the time of Darkseid's apocalypse. They were first sent out against Black Adam and his homeland of Kahar. Is that how you say it? Anyway, Kahndaq, which has been undergoing a renaissance following the Infinite Crisis and him gaining his own family, Isis Osiris, and Sebek, the talking crocodile. Unfortunately, Sebek was revealed as famine and killed Osiris. Isis was killed by Pestilence's toxins. Black Adam killed them. And this incident would push him back into becoming a villain. 6. Granny Goodness. If there's something DC movies fans are crying out for right now, it's some form of continuation of the storylines established by Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Nightmare Future timeline may be problematic to continue without Justice League 2, but DCEU movies such as Black Adam could feature other villains like Steppenwolf. While Darkseid himself might be a bit much, a more insidious villain could be Granny Goodness, despite appearing as an old woman. Granny Goodness is as powerful as Steppenwolf, a master manipulator, and commands a squad of female furies skilled enough to take on Wonder Woman. They'd all be fantastic opponents for the JSA, I agree. Number 5, Felix Faust. Yeah, now we're talking. The powerful sorcerer Felix Faust is one of the cruelest men in the DC universe. The dark magician has been a long-time member of the team's evil opposites. The Injustice Society is an expert in the torture and enslavement of others and has sold his soul to multiple parties. Me too. As for Black Adam, Faust resurrected and enslaved his wife Isis, and Adam has to fight to get her back. 4. Vandal Savage. For the Black Adam movie, there needs to be a villain powerful enough to be a threat to both Adam and the Justice Society, and has clashed with them in the comics. The immortal Vandal Savage ticks all these boxes. He does. Vandal Savage was originally in Neanderthal, whatever that is, who lived thousands of years ago. However, an encounter with a mysterious space rock altered him, making him smarter, stronger, and unkillable. Supposedly, he's been all of history's greatest conquerors and has been a major opponent of the JSA over the years. As Adam is also thousands of years old, Savage would be an apt opponent, especially if the movie suggests they have met several times over the centuries. Yeah, Vandal Savage will be great if he's a recurring villain for Black Adam. They know each other. This is a good part of the article. I would love to see him in the DCEU. 3. 7 Deadly Enemies of Man. Also known as the Seven Deadly Sins, the Seven Deadly Enemies of Man would be an intriguing choice for the villains in Black Adam, mostly because they were only just the villains in Shazam. They were only just the villains in Shazam. That's what it said. I thought it said something else, so I repeated it, sorry. Alongside Fader, Sivana, Mark Strong. Dr. Sivana, that's his name. The reason it would be a good thing for the Sins to return for Black Adam is that they were originally released from their imprisonment, thanks to Adam's fall from grace. This then resulted in the devastation of Adam's home, Conda, until the wizard Shazam was able to trap them in stone, to have them return to face Black Adam once again, and could conceivably be a way for Adam to redeem himself and connectivity to the first Shazam film as well, which would be awesome. 2, Eclipso. The villainous Eclipso, and we've spoken about him before on this channel, of course, is one of the most powerful adversaries in the DC universe, one of the primary villains of the Justice Society in Shazam, and a perfect opponent for Black Adam. Eclipso is an evil and ancient entity that used to be the Spirit of Vengeance before he was replaced by the Spectre. His soul resides across 1,000 black crystals, and if all were destroyed, it would unleash his full power. Eclipso once tricked the Spectre into attacking all magical beings purely as revenge on Shazam. He will soon be seen as the main villain in Stargirl Season 2, so audiences will soon be more familiar with him. Number 1, Superman. What? It seems unlikely, but having Superman Henry Cavill as the main opponent to Black Adam, by the way, would be amazing, would be a fantastic twist, and a great return for the character, especially after his cameo appearance at the end of Shazam. However, Zack Snyder's Justice League seemed to suggest that Superman's resurrection was not entirely without complication, as Superman's black suit and brutal beating of Steppenwolf show. Black Adam has long been a character who was a match for Superman, so if Superman was corrupted in some way, perhaps by Darkseid or Eclipso, would make for some spectacular fights between the two. Well, that's the article. That's a great list of villains. I think Vandal Savage, for me, is a great pick, and I think that's the one they may go for. Having them kind of adversaries, lifelong adversaries, would be really awesome. So thank you for all those article suggestions, Scott Edwards. That's it for today. We went on a bit. As usual, we overran. So I will see you again tomorrow for more Big Mouth Daily. Remember, follow me over on Twitter at MoviesTVMad, making suggestions, asking me questions, and if they're good, I will mention them here on the Big Mouth Daily. So comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye-bye.